maybe let's like, what do you think? Like, what do you think about the app?
The
Especially
same, the same with the
the one episode.
on an architectural bit. So let me comment on that. On an architectural bit, it's okay. I wish there was more separation. When they started with all these modules, they got me all excited. Then I got into the modules and I was like, okay, wait, I don't understand. I mean, granted, I've not looked at the documentation and like read it and spent time with it. But I think my strong opinion on this is you have to separate. If I was the one who was to do this on a very like architecting level, I would go for, hey, let's split this. Don't have either we are going the business logic way, have everything inside this module called app, where it's really straightforward and you could easily have everything that is inside, the UI. I would take everything here and put it outside, and then have all the API happenings everywhere. I feel like for an app like this one, I've not seen the room database, and maybe they don't need it. Maybe
I
they
think they
don't
don't
need
have
it.
one. Yeah, I think they just have the keyword
They
stuff.
don't need it, which was a very interesting thing, because I think we saw the room database with the German one, right? Yeah, I think we saw it. It's the German one, and so it's like it's that thing of telling people, look, you don't need to have a room database all the time. Think of all the other ways in which like this data that you're so fascinated about, do you really have to have the room database there? You know, and so that's a whole debate that you might have around it. The other thing is there is some fairly form of consistency in the way they're writing the code itself, especially with this not even from the commenting and also the way they're implementing these things. The only thing is that consistency is being seen in, they're not, like, you see the way you're naming your, let me give you an example, like this class force update notification worker. You would expect that they would probably maintain that when they're naming all their classes. It's not the same. In some instances, they move far away from it, where you need to actually understand what's happening with this. In some instances where you'd have a very long class, let's say, that is implementing so many things, the commenting is very vague. And granted, I've not looked at the documentation. This is me commenting without the documentation. I've seen the way they've implemented Coin, which is very interesting. I love the way they're using the dependency injection with the various.
Yeah, that's something that we haven't seen with the other ones, right? Like the other app didn't even thought about this. This was something I like you. Doesn't matter what label you use, but yeah. So I actually totally with you here. So what I would say, like, I found it very interesting that you always went to the extension package. I mean, although it's just a util, but you went there because the package structure is so much clearer there because it's very flat. So every time you went from the utils basically to the actually thing, which is not how intended, but it shows like this was a good packaging, while the app has like a confusing packaging, right? So I liked how like the fragments were all looking the same and they're all following one pattern. I have the feeling this app started nice. I mean, but now it's in a state where you should say, okay, let's stop now and let's refactor, because there are some things we should like regroup. Let's reorder them together, or let's extract some things. Like it's not that super small anymore, right? And now they have like duplications, and also the architecture is very simple, right? We saw like fragments, view models, repositories, and that's it. And then what you see like here, for example, there's like a lot of managers, and managers are one of these things you should try to avoid using, because what is the class of a manager? I mean, it's like utils. This person doesn't say anything. And this shows like this probably should go somewhere. You just haven't found the name for it, right? So you're adding like all these utilities, and you go a bit away from your new model, repository, that's it, right? And maybe the storage. So there's something in between, but you haven't found a word, and you're splitting it all over, and it starts to get messy. Like you have to be careful now, because from here it's like a dangerous path. So I think I like the app. It needs a cleanup a bit. We haven't looked at the testing. I think they have a few tests I saw earlier. Not like super a lot, especially when you think about how much logic we saw here, right, and how much UI seems to be the larger app. And there were a lot of like small code smells with it, like from a clean code perspective that I didn't like, with like extract a constant here, like the timings that we saw all over the place, and definitely refactor this workout thing, but it was the same for the other two apps that we looked at. I found it interesting that I don't use a database, but the file thing, maybe that's why it takes 10 minutes, because there's a lot of file work, which is much slower, of course, than database work, right? So this looked a bit creepy, but yeah, it's a bit hard, I think, to find its way around. But like, I could see myself, okay, I could work here. I probably would want to do a little cleanup, but in general, I think it's a good app.
Yeah, cool. I think this is the first one we're seeing that they've implemented the Lottie animation.
Doing what?
This is the first one that has the Lottie animations. Right. Yeah, which is very interesting. So I guess anyone who's interested in seeing how they are trying, how Lottie animations can be implemented, this is one of the projects that now we can add to all that. The only downside is the way they're naming them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the only downside.
The naming was
the rest of
the
name was really weird.
Yeah,
you'd have like
it's bad that we couldn't see the app itself, because actually I found some feedback for the German one. So it seems like now we have like 13 million downloads for the German one, and it seems like a lot of the UI was really slick, and like really, I think from developers perspective, it looked nice and clean. But it seems like a lot of people who are not very technical, like us, they didn't understand the app. And they were calling their local authorities. They were completely overwhelmed because they didn't do this app, because they didn't understand it. So maybe and we saw like a lot of onboarding. There were a lot of text here, and like these animations also make you feel like a bit, more cozy reading the text. So I think it's like good spending this time, because this is an app for like everybody, from your grandma to like the 14-year-old grandson, and this is tough doing this. So I think I'm not a big fan of like a lot of onboarding, especially a lot of text. But for an app like this, when no one knows what is Bluetooth, why does it need it, why does it need my location, and they spent a lot of time making this nice. And so I hope the app is in a similar state. You don't get it, like have it help you, it explains to you again why this is there. What does it mean if it's like a low exposure, right? I think we had something in the German app saying low risk or low exposure. What does it actually mean, right? So people maybe don't even know about exposure, so. And everybody's worried, like, this is like, come on, this is like a serious app, right? So like, I like that they spend some time here.
Yeah, true. So I guess that's it from us. Barring any other one, again, I think it's important for us to mention that we are looking at this code just a few minutes in and giving our immediate reaction. But then the developers have spent a good amount of time to think through this. They've made the documentation, because I mean the project has been done by 14 people?
I think 14 was only.
Yeah, it was 14 people. So if you have a group of people making the app itself, I mean, these are brilliant people. This is all of these guys have decided to write this code for all the guys in Italy, and this is like 14 people. So it's a big gap, or a kudos to them. Congratulations to whatever thing they're doing again.
And we didn't talk about like the part and like the Bluetooth part, right? I mean, how well this is. This is not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to like, what is the impression like? If someone new comes to the team, how easy is it to understand where things are? Like, imagine like there's a plane accident, and all the 14 developers are gone, and now you got this project, and this is important. The code is going on. You have to work on this now. So how easy is it to find yourself around this way? I think it's good to look at it from that perspective, like without understanding everything, just trying to open certain files and have a look how they look like. Like, do we get what they are? Like, and this is what in the end, like, if you out there like submit like a coding challenge to a company, developers, they will not spend like a week trying to understand what you did there. They will have like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to understand all your code. So it's easy to find your way around and to have very code that speaks for itself, right? This is the kind of review that we're doing here.
I mean, I guess you've just given a tip as to why most people don't succeed in these coding challenges that they're given, because they submit this work and they have this imagination like, I wrote very good code. But then everyone is like, come on, man, I don't understand anything that this guy's doing. You know, he's
think about it, what you just said, like the work manager stuff, right? Maybe this is really brilliant thing what they're doing there in this big chunk of work. But we had like no idea. We looked at it for like 3-4 minutes, and we had no idea what's going on in these 80 lines of code. And so it might be the super smart algorithm, but you might still fail this coding challenge, right? Because true. It doesn't speak for itself. It's like hard to understand, like, and maybe they don't see how brilliant you actually are there.
It's true. Yes, we have done it, Danny.
Cool.
From summer on your side, winter on my side. I think it's safe to tell people, see you next session.
Let's see what's next.
Yeah, let's see what's next. Yeah. So that was us. So